Hey everyone, Alex Tardy here with Weather Echo. We have a weather insight for you. We are going to see the hottest temperatures of the year across much of California coming up here in mid-June. An extended heat wave, extreme heat for mid-June. Even though we're entering summer soon, this is still unusual heat. We last talked about this in late May, if you read the Tardy blog, which provided a long outlook for this potential heat wave. Okay, let's take a look at things and what we're expecting. These are the highlights. Dry north winds will kick us off and create offshore flow behind a weather system moving by to our north. The upper ridge or heat dome builds into California from the Pacific. So this is not a four corners, so to speak, type of ridge. This is not the heat that's built from the deserts and then spreads westward. The air mass or the heat wave, that's what brings us the hot temperatures, not the sun angle or anything else. That's going to warm the atmosphere through Tuesday of next week. Hot temperatures, low humidity because we don't have monsoonal flow. This brings grass and brush fire danger for sure across the valleys and lower elevations. What kind of temperatures? We're talking about widespread 100 to 105 in the Central Valley of California. Now for the Southern California deserts like Palm Springs, we're talking the first time reaching 115 this year. So really hot even for that area. Now interior Central Valley, we're looking at temperatures as high as 105 to 110. We'll talk about how that could happen. Now there will be a sea breeze and we will have to deal with some marine layer along the California coast. So the interior coastal cities will still be warm, but not extremely hot. Now overall, high temperatures will be 10 to 18 degrees above normal, maybe as much as 20 degrees above normal in some of those protected areas inland. We last talked about this, yes, in late May, about potential heat wave coming up. Now temperatures have been hot in the Central Valley, mid and upper 90s, but we're talking about first time temperatures in multiple days could get above 100, perhaps even 105 to 110 across interior areas of the Central Valley. Okay, this is the extreme heat we're talking about. So the outlook for the next week, it's focused right on Central California, as shown in the upper left. Then it relaxes as the weather system goes by, but then it persists through June into early July, as shown here. So you can see these red anomalies. That means temperatures above normal. This darker color here means very much above normal. You can see in eastern Canada, Quebec, there's also a pocket over the next week, but then that area by 2 to 3 weeks from now really cools off. So a lot of seesaw going on, and that's normal with heat waves or hot air masses as they migrate across the country and move to different areas. Okay, how do we know how hot it's going to be? Well, we measure the air mass temperature, not today, but the computer models project it. And what I'm showing you here is Friday and Tuesday as two examples. And what I really want to emphasize is the warming that continues. Yes, it's going to be downright hot in the Central Valley on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But the air mass actually warms early next week, and we'll talk about why. So on Friday, we see 24. That's Celsius, a measure of the air mass. So that's the potential temperature. That's very important in meteorology. One of the toughest topics to really understand and grasp for an entry-level meteorologist. But it's the air mass temperature that mixes down from 5, 6, 7,000 feet when the sun's out and when the wind blows. That's what creates our high temperatures. Otherwise, if you just relied on the sun, you would have a greenhouse effect if there was no mixing in the atmosphere. The lower levels where we live would be unbearable. So mixing occurs, but when the air is hot, you're mixing down warmer air, and that's how you get these really hot temperatures. So typically when you see 24C, that is potential for temperatures to get up around 100 to 103. Now, when you start seeing 27, that's potential for temperatures to be 105 to 108. If you don't have a sea breeze, if it's not cloudy, if you don't have other effects like that, and of course, you need to be lower elevations to maximize it. Now, look at the deserts. They get up to 30C. That's when we start talking about temperatures reaching and exceeding 115 Fahrenheit. So the bottom line here is it's going to be really hot Thursday, Friday, Saturday as the air mass builds over California. It just gets hotter early next week on Monday and Tuesday out ahead of a potential cold front coming down from the northwest. So this is how we can gauge how hot the potential is of the air mass. Now, you have to factor in marine layers, sea breeze, any cloud cover, precipitation, that type of thing as well. But we're not expecting most of that other than the normal sea breeze and marine layer along the California coast. Okay, now this is the weather pattern that produces this. Take a look on the left-hand side. A weather system is going to go by to our north. Okay, so we're on the back side of it. Someone's getting rain and cool weather up in Canada and the northern plains, but we're on the back side. We're going to get the dry north winds as shown here. So this is going to set the stage to create offshore flow, drying, and erode any marine air that's in place. And then following this, the air mass warms, as I showed earlier. So this is very common in Southern California, Northern California. In Southern California, we call it Santa Ana winds. In Northern California, it's a north wind. The bottom line is it sets the stage for a heat wave. You see the tight pressure gradient there where the arrow is shown. The storm system is going by to the north. Okay, so next week, how does it warm? Well, the upper ridge or the heat dome over the Pacific, not the four corners, it's sitting over the cold Pacific. And that's going to shift eastward, okay? It's not affected by the ocean. So it's just going to migrate eastward and following the general jet stream or weather pattern. So that big bulge or ridge is going to bring those hotter temperatures for early next week for the hottest air mass over us. Now, by Monday, we do notice there's a little bit of a feature. I've got pointed there, a little L. So a little feature kind of breaks off from the north and moves along the Bay Area. That could play a role in fluctuating or cooling our temperatures along the coast on Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on that. But overall, the big dome of hot air, as that weather system continues to go through the Great Lakes in the Northeast, the big dome of hot air remains in place, anchored over Northern California as shown here. We hope you enjoyed this weather blog. I know you probably won't enjoy the excessive temperatures, especially those of you who could see the first 100 and even 105 degree temperatures in the Central Valley. We could see some records in this type of heat wave because we're talking about temperatures approaching 20 degrees above normal, and that's usually record territory. No relief in the foothills, and of course our mountains will be really hot too, 80s and 90s during the day. Dry air mass, so we'll cool off a little bit at night, but overall this is a prolonged, excessively hot air mass that will bring really hot temperatures for the next week, all the way through next Tuesday. Now, we do see some relief by next Wednesday and Thursday as that weather system or cold front I mentioned comes down from the north. So, fire weather concerns for sure, high heat risk concerns as well. The best news about this is that we keep an onshore flow along the California coast where the water is typically and is colder than most areas. So water temperatures in the 60s will help keep things cool along the coast and keep that breeze going. But we're going to suppress that breeze in the beginning of the heat wave and at the end of the heat wave, so we can even see some hot temperatures along our interior valleys as we talked about. So drink a lot of fluids, plan accordingly, be wise about this. This is not even summer yet, but this is our first major heat wave and even hotter than what we saw in April or even the big heat wave we saw in March. You can sign up for the weather blog here. We'll post other information on X and Threads. This is on YouTube. We also post information on Twitter as shown here, as well as TikTok and LinkedIn. WeatherEcho.com. Thanks for joining, everyone. Stay cool.